board that will impact more than 2,000 students and staff.
Folks will have an opportunity to have meetings within their school communities to understand why it is their school is part of the consideration for consolidation.
A Colorado man compelled to leave the country after a racist attack in Aurora leaves him covered in gasoline. And now that same suspect now accused of harassing another family.
He started cursing and told me to get out of the car, and he told me to speak English.
Plus, a new report shows Denver's Office of Social Equity is missing its foundation.
I think the report does give them a roadmap to put those things in place and to be successful.
And first at 5, it is looking a bit gloomy across Colorado right now. Gray skies are covering downtown Denver. Storms, they're hitting the mountains right now. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us for Denver 7 News at 5. I'm Ann Trujillo.
I'm Shannon Ogden. Mike Nelson is here. Tell us, hopefully, when the blue skies will come back soon.
I think we'll get to see him again over the weekend, but I don't think we'll have those same beautiful mornings that we've had all this week. Let me show you what's happening. First of all, it's raining pretty good up in the mountains. This is Avon, Beaver Creek. This is what it's looked like in Denver over the last couple of hours as dark skies have come in. Not a whole lot of rain with them. A lot of that is evaporating before it really gets out on the Front Range. Heaviest rains have been in the mountains. There's a flash flood watch in effect, the Grizzly Creek burn scar, and we have some showers and a couple of light thunderstorms moving out onto the eastern plains. Rain, gusty winds to about 30 miles an hour, a little bit of thunder and lightning expected. Temperatures have certainly cooled. We were 90 earlier, now we're down to 77 in Denver, 76 at Fort Collins. Weather headlines on this one: scattered storms tonight, more storms Friday, warmer and drier Saturday, hotter weather next week. Your full 7-day forecast coming up in about 15 minutes.
Mike. And breaking now at 5, we now know which 16 schools the Jefferson County School Board will recommend closing by the next school year.
Those 16 schools have more than 2,400 students and nearly 430 staff. Denver 7's Bayan Wang live outside the Jeffco School District Board meeting.
And Bayan, hundreds of families are just now learning their child's school could close its doors.
Yeah, guys, that's exactly right. What we're learning tonight is that only elementary schools within the district are being recommended for closures, and this all comes as the school district says they are seeing declining student enrollment rates year after year. So let's go ahead and pull up the graphic showing a list of those schools that may be impacted. Here are the 16 different elementary schools on your screen now. They include Emory, Peck, Thompson, and Green Mountain Elementary Schools, just to name a few. As you mentioned, more than 2,400 students will be impacted if this recommendation is enforced. In that case, 12 other schools in the district will take those students in. We also learned that 5 center programs that serve students with additional needs will be moving from their original elementary school location to a different school within the district. Again, Jefferson County Schools says enrollment is the biggest factor for this recommendation. In fact, since 2001, they've seen less and less students enroll at their schools, and currently 49 of their elementary schools have a student population of less than 250 students or are utilizing less than 60% of their building. For more perspective, the district has building space for 96,000 students, but only 69,000 students are enrolled.
We come into this process believing that nobody wants their schools to close. We don't want schools to close, but unfortunately, we're just in a position with our enrollment and our resources where we can no longer just keep every school open.
Now, the recommendations will go before the school board on November 10th for a vote, and if it does pass, the impacts will be seen starting next school year. In the meantime, we're here at the board meeting tonight. We know these things can get pretty heated. We've seen fully staffed security teams on the perimeter, a bunch of signs that say no holding up picket signs in there, and to really watch the volume, not to interrupt anyone who is speaking. We're going to have a lot more on all the action later on in our evening newscast. Back to you guys.
Absolutely. We'll keep watch. Thank you, Bayan. And between now and November, Jefferson County will meet with the community and schools impacted to go over the recommendations. And then once those are finished, the Board of Education will make the final decision.
Also new at 5, a man accused of attacking 2 men for speaking Spanish at an Aurora gas station last month tonight is in custody.
Denver 7's Patrick Perez is live in the newsroom with the latest on this weeks-long investigation. Patrick, one of the victims of this attack says he's now leaving Colorado.
Yeah, and today he told me what happened was so traumatizing that he's leaving tomorrow and is heading back to his home country of Colombia. He had only been here for just a few months. Today we also learned that this suspect was accused of doing the same thing to another person just a day after this initial attack. An arrest made in what Aurora police is calling a bias-motivated attack. 28-year-old Rini Kassam is now behind bars, accused of attacking two men last month at a gas station near Mississippi and Havana for supposedly speaking Spanish. One of the victims, Ramel, told us a few weeks ago what happened the night of July 23rd left him traumatized.
El miedo es que uno con el carro.
My fear is with that car, the color and make. There aren't many, and the man could find me, and this could happen again.
Police say Kassam doused Ramel with gas, tried to find a lighter to set him on fire, threw a rock at the back of his car window, and stole his keys. But we learned Thursday Ramel and his friend are not the only victims of this man's hate. A day after the attack, while wearing the same clothes, Kassam is accused of pulling a knife on a man and telling him to speak English.
He started hitting the car and trying to open my door. I guess he was trying to pull me out.
This second attack happened at an apartment complex near East Alabama Drive, as Simon Agudelo's family watched from a balcony.
There's a lot of Spanish speakers in this country, and he never he never hear me speaking Spanish, nothing like that.
Kassam is known to police, having been arrested several times before, including for DUI and domestic violence. In this most recent case, he's facing a dozen charges, including harassment and bias-motivated crime. Simon and his family are just glad he's off the streets.
It was something disgusting, you know. I feel disgusted by this fact, you know.
So that suspect appeared in court today. A judge set his bond at $150,000 because of the seriousness of these allegations and because he has failed to appear in court for lower charges. He has to appear again next month. In the newsroom, I'm Patrick Perez, Denver 7.
All right, Patrick, thank you. The Department of Justice has been ordered to release a redacted version of the Mar-a-Lago search warrant by tomorrow. Today, the DOJ submitted its request to keep parts of that redacted that detail why the Fed searched the former president's estate. And this afternoon, a judge in Florida agreed to redact key parts of the affidavit, including the investigation's strategy, sources, methods, witnesses, and names of law enforcement officers. The DOJ now has until tomorrow to appeal. If that doesn't happen, well, we could expect to see this affidavit by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Mesa County's deputy clerk has agreed to testify against Tina Peters in an election tampering case. Belinda Knisley entered a plea deal today, pleading guilty to criminal trespassing, violation of duty, and first-degree official misconduct. Deputy Clerk Knisley will serve 2 years probation and 150 hours of community service in exchange for her cooperation with investigators. Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters is facing 11 criminal charges and is currently out on bail. She also is prohibited from contacting employees at her office. The Denver Auditor has released a harsh review of the city's new Office of Social Equity and Innovation.
Denver 7's Megan Lopez shows us the shortfalls the audit found and why the office says this doesn't tell the full story.
Hands up! Don't shoot! Hands up! Don't shoot!
Even before the racial justice protests of 2020, Denver was looking for ways to become more equitable. In 2019, it formed an office to do just that.
We really work with agencies throughout the entire city, all agencies that report to the mayor, ensuring that we really begin to view things through an equity lens.
Now, 3 years and 3 leaders into this office's mission, a new audit has found big discrepancies.
The organization has no statement of goals and objectives, no policies and procedures, no metrics to determine am I achieving the goals and objectives set out for the organization.
Auditor Tim O'Brien says the office is missing key policies that would make it run smoothly, like a strategic plan, clear roles and responsibilities for employees, and consistent communication.
They should be a lot further along, and these are fundamentals. These are just basic building blocks of how you run an organization.
So they've laid out a list of recommendations to get this office up to par.
I think the report does give them a roadmap to put those things in place.
And we don't disagree with that.
But Chief Equity Officer Dr. Aisha Rousseau says the report doesn't paint the full picture, like the fact that this office had to pivot to pandemic response in its infancy.
The prior leadership pivoted because it was critical to identify how communities of color could be addressed to a pandemic.
So she says they're now working on trying to fill the gaps from before, but she disagrees with the premise of the audit.
I take great concern with the critique particularly of 2 Black women who had the charge of responding to building equity on a shoestring.
In a letter, Mayor Michael Hancock also expressed serious concerns with the audit, saying the department is new and this report doesn't take all of the challenges it had to overcome into account. Both the auditor and Rousseau agree that the work of this department is critical and a long time coming.
We're talking about changing the course of a ship that is 100 years in the making.
Now it's a matter of putting some of the recommendations into action. Megan Lopez, Denver 7.
When I'm not doing concentrating energy research, I'm helping my family with our farm with organic produce and chili peppers.
In Colorado, we love our green chilies.
Now researchers are taking a greener approach to the classic roasting process.
Couldn't we take the chili roaster, put it on top of our solar tower, and really examine the full breadth of possibilities for roasting?
California regulators make a landmark vote to go all electric on new cars.
This is really important for reducing climate changing emissions.
And Denver is easing up on its ban of food trucks downtown after weeks of pushback by owners.
We're not responsible if people, they're drunk and acting dangerous.